Hold on. Every time she does that, I have to figure. Hold on. I gotta. We're back. Okay. We have caption turned on and two American Sign Language interpreters here that you can pin on your screen. There's a message in the chat box by Katie to let you know how. We are recording this so others can use others can see it before our part 2 session in September. This recording will be in our Google Drive folder that we will share with you. Also, slides from today are in the folder. Now I'm going to pass it over to Michelle.
Michelle, you're muted.
Well, thank you, Dana.
And I need the next slide.
Good.
Because I'm not allowed to touch anything. I want to welcome our presenters for today, and I'd like for them to introduce themselves. They're fabulous, and we're so happy that each of the presenters from the Leadership Collective for Uniting for Change are here. Uniting for Change is the self-advocacy network in the state of Georgia, and we want all of you here who haven't been a part of Uniting for Change to get involved in different ways, and we'll tell you more about that at the end of the show. So Gina, can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Janet from Facebook, and my mama June.
Okay, thank you. Jared, can you introduce yourself?
Dan Hurd is my name. I live in Albany, Georgia, and you can call me graphic artist because I'm a graphic designer.
You are. Derek Hurd's your name and graphics are your game. Nandy, can you introduce yourself for us, please?
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy Isaac. I'm from Macon, Georgia, and a self-advocate.
Thank you. Sheila, the one and only.
I'm Sheila Jeffrey, and I live in Union City, Georgia. And I play many roles in this game, so you'll find me in a lot of places you'll never think I'll be.
Yes, ma'am. And Mr. John McCarty.
This is John McCarty. He's the person who spells in order to communicate, and I'm Joan. I'm his communication partner and his voice. He's a self-advocate, and he's in the northern part of Atlanta and Roswell area.
Thanks, guys. All right, we're ready to get started. Gina?
We want to hear. We want to see who is here today. Please answer the poll. Are you a self-advocate, family member, director support professional, support, or supervisor or a manager, supervisor or coordinator, state employee, or other ally? Please mark the poll, and we want the numbers up. And if y'all have any questions about any of the pieces, let us know, and please put it in the chat box, and we will get to your questions and answers.
And Nettie, the next slide, once you go to the next slide, it's you.
Let's see. Okay. Well, this looks great, guys. We have 50% of the folks here are self-advocates, and then we have several family members and direct support professionals. Welcome, a couple state employees, and other supporters and allies. Thank you.
All right, Nandy, it's your turn.
Okay. Why is it important to vote? Why is it matter what you need to know to register and to vote?
Derek,
United for Change wants all people in Georgia to vote. I made this drawing to inspire people to get out the vote. All vote matters. Make your voice heard. My vote matters.
Gina,
United for Change asks that all sub-advocates learn about and register to vote. We are a grassroots network of advocacy in Georgia who believe that voting is one way we use our voice for change and we use our voice to vote. And please vote, y'all, because we are in a bad time. So please vote. It's important. I do it, and all the sub-advocates do it on this call. So please, please do it for me. Do it for anybody else disabled, because that's important. Very important.
it's still you on this slide.
Thank you. Are you registered to vote? As you answer the question in the poll, these are the dates to remember. The general election is November the 8th, 2022. On December the 6th, there will be a runoff election for any race that would too close to call in November. Let's see the poll results.
There was never no poll put up. Now it is. Are you registered to vote? Single choice, yes, no, or not yet, and I would like some support to register to vote.
Look at that. Keep going. We want to see everyone who's registered. And it's okay if you're not yet registered. Go ahead and click that. We can help you with that.
They want you to register to vote. It's very important. I do it all the time, and my mama helps me.
This is great. And you can be talking to other folks too, asking them if they're registered to vote, because looks like everyone here who's voted on this poll is already registered to vote, so that's fantastic news. But you might know some people.
Congratulations, everybody. Good job. We need
I know people who
to
just
vote.
didn't asked. Okay, I'll end that, and then let's go over.
This slide shows the important dates that you will need to know. Oh, 100% people said they voted. I seen that poll pop up on my face. This slide shows the important dates that you will need to know before election day. Election day, November 8th. August 22nd is the earliest day to submit your absentee ballot application, if this is how you want to vote. October 11th is the latest day you can register to vote. Early voting begins on Monday, October the 17th, and ends on November the 4th. On October 22nd, Saturday voting begins and is open for 2 Saturdays. Sunday voting begins in some counties on October 23rd. So you have to look up and see if your place is one of the places that is going to be open on a Sunday. You will need to check with your county officials or, oh, no, don't you dare do that. Go back. Okay, hold on. I had a malfunction with the tablet. You will need to check with your county election office or ask someone to help you find out if your county is letting vote on Sunday. October 28th is the last day you can request an application to vote with an absentee ballot. We'll tell you some more dates later to save for our workshop and other voting advocacy events. Katie, Katie for chat box, find your early voting location, and then she's gonna put a website in the bottom of the chat box. And now I'm gonna pass it on to Nancy.
Why voting matters. Elected officials work for all people, including some advocates. It is important that these elected officials listen to how each law or the lack of it affected the lives of some advocates across the state of Georgia. Our voice matters. We, the elected officials, will work to protect our rights.
John?
The disability community often has barriers in securing housing, transportation, meaningful employment, and services that the general public may have access to. People with disabilities and their needs are often not a priority of candidates running for office, whether local, state, or national.
Okay, we would like to hear from some of you in this workshop who have voted before about why you think voting is important. Will someone share with us why you vote?
Can
Susan, go ahead.
I want to say that I vote because it's important to have who we want as our president or vice president or any other thing we're voting for. You can have a say. It's important because we're American citizens and we should have a right to have that. To be able to vote anybody, whether we have a disability or not, it should be open for anybody. Thank you. It's also a privilege to vote.
Thanks, Susan.
Shannon
Who
Rivas.
else? Sheila, you want to call for a volunteer?
I did, Shannon Rivas.
Oh,
You guys call me, right? Okay. I vote because, when you have a candidate in mind, they have the issue that they have to go for, and if they have concerns, they can give you options on every issue they know about. And once that candidate is elected, they can help every citizen who would today rely on what problems they can address on, especially when you go voting. And there are ways you can do that if very issues exist, like housing and sidewalks and other stuff.
That's great, Shannon. So you're looking for candidates that align with the specific issues that concern you.
who's the group with Ben Bonds?
Hi guys, we see y'all sitting around a table.
Where are y'all from?
Michelle, I think there's more than one. You asked for too much. So we want to welcome all y'all self-advocates who are on the line.
I didn't catch where you're from.
I didn't either. Could one person say where you're from?
Macon.
Macon. And are you with Wesley Glenn?
No, we're from River Edge.
River Edge.
River Edge. That's
Hey,
right.
it's good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, do any of you guys want to tell us why you vote or why you're going to vote? Why it's important to you?
I vote because I feel like it's our right to vote. We need to vote to voice our opinion for what needs to be changed in the world.
Okay, real quick, I know this is kind of off subject. Gigi Weckham said we are from Albany, Georgia. We are a day center watching the webinar.
That's great. We're so glad all of y'all are here. And if you could just put in the chat box how many there are of you, that would be great. And that was well said about having the right to vote. Thank y'all.
And the next slide is going to be, I don't want to get it wrong. I want to say it was John is next. And I am correct. John is next.
All right, here are the things to think about, whether you are the voter or the supporter and ally. Voting is critical for people with disabilities because it is the most impactful way to influence laws and policy decisions in local and state communities and in the United States. When people with disabilities are not involved in the decision-making, rules, policies, and legislation can be useless and even harmful.
Stop.
There is power in your vote. Speak out, be heard.
Amen, John.
Dina.
There are many reasons why you should vote. Other points to consider is that your voice makes a difference, even if you think it is not. Dana has some numbers for us to share the impact.
All right, y'all. We're about to hear from Dana. She works at the Georgia Advocacy Office and also one of our supporters with United for Change and is always here to help us. Dana, will you show us some results?
Thank you, Sheila. That's the best introduction ever. So it's really important to think about what we can do together. Sometimes people feel like, well, it's just my one vote. Well, it's not your one vote. We all come together and vote, and it makes a difference. So in Georgia, there's about 10.5, little more million people. It's a lot of people that live in Georgia, but about 1.2 million of those people have disabilities. So if everyone with a disability thinks about really what would make their communities better, transportation, affordable housing, accessible housing, jobs for people with disabilities, and we all voted to make those things happen, that has an impact. There's no candidate that can afford to ignore 1 million voters, right? You belong to a group of voters who really can make a difference. So I want to show you another way we can think about this, right? So sometimes it's hard to imagine numbers this big. So if we go to the next slide, I want to show you a couple of other ways we can think about this. So on your screen there are 4 pictures, and in the top corner is the Georgia Bulldog Stadium. That's just for you, Shannon Rivas. And 92,000 people, almost 93,000 people can fit in that stadium, almost 100,000 people. And then if we look next, there's the Atlanta Hawks, right? Their stadium's pretty big, about 21,000 people. Then we look at the Atlanta United Stadium down on the bottom, about 71,000 people. And then you can see a high school football game. It's about 11,000 people that can fit in a high school stadium. Well, the reason that I'm showing you these numbers is because in the last presidential election in 2020, the difference of who won the presidential election was only 11,779 votes. So this picture down on the bottom, the high school stadium, right? So all those people could fit in a Georgia stadium, and there'd still be lots of room left over. Let's show that picture, right? So that's an empty Georgia stadium. Oh, Ben says they're not seeing anything, Katie. They can't see the pictures. We know what might be up. But for the rest of you, this is the empty Georgia stadium, right? We're trying it again. Was everything looking okay before our friends in Macon?
She's getting it.
Yeah, okay.
We have mixed comments of some saying they did see the slides fine, and then, like you said, the people out of Macon said they couldn't see the slides. Sunil said we see the slides just fine.
All right, let's try to get them back up. I want everyone to see. But in case you can't see, for the folks in Macon, the slides are going to be in a Google Drive, and you'll be able to see them then. You can print them out and share them with other people.
Jamie, do you want the last slide?
Yeah, Katie, if you'll go back to the empty stadium, that's where I was. Perfect.
Okay.
So this is the empty Georgia stadium, right? That could hold 92,000 people.
They said they see them now, thank.
Perfect. And it would just be that tiny section where those red people are for 11,779 voters. It's not very many. So your vote does make a difference. In the last governor's election, it was about 54,000 votes. So that would just be half that stadium. All of the differences between these major elections that really make a difference in our lives in Georgia are less than the number of people who go to a Georgia game on Saturdays, right? So that's a really important thing we want you to remember. Okay, that was fun. I had a lot of fun finding those pictures and numbers and thinking about it. So Nancy's going to talk to us a little bit.
Okay, so.
Nandy, we're on number 2 here.
Yes, something to consider. Your number one, your vote. Number one, your vote makes a difference. If you think it doesn't, all elections do impact your everyday life. So please try to get the person in an office when you believe will help you, work for you. There is one candidate that represents many of your interests.
All right, that's it, Nandy, that's it.
Okay.
Dana is now going to read the quote by Debbie Moon and explain it.
Thanks, Nandy. That was a good setup, right? So this is Debbie Moon's a voting rights activist, and she says, voting isn't marriage, it's public transport. You're not waiting for the one who's absolutely perfect. You're getting on the bus. And if there isn't a bus going to your destination, you don't not travel. You don't stay off the bus. You take the one that's going closest. So we have this great graphic by our friend Abby who helps us think about what this looks like. So if you think about all the things we want for our communities, right? What we want for people with disabilities. So maybe you really care about accessible, affordable housing, or you want every kid with a disability to get a good education. You want jobs that pay people with disabilities really well at a fair wage. You want everyone to have the services that they need and not be stuck in nursing facilities and able to get staff that really help them. You want accessible transportation, even if you don't live in a big city. Those are some of the hopes and dreams of Uniting for Change advocates. But everyone can think about what your hopes and dreams are. What do you want your community to look like? And then you start to think about what the candidates are saying they can help with. You learn about the candidates and what their goals are. And sometimes people get frustrated because there's no candidate that says they're going to do all the things that people with disabilities want. And so sometimes people say, I don't know, maybe it's not worth it. I shouldn't even vote at all. But there's a different way to think about it. You can ask yourself, well, which candidate is going to get me closest? Which candidate is going to do some of the things I want, right? So you look at this little map, and maybe candidate A cares about affordable housing like you do. Well, that's good, right? And maybe candidate B cares about affordable houses and jobs. That's good. But candidate C, they care about affordable housing and jobs and people with disabilities getting the services they need. Well, that gets you closer to your hopes and dreams. So candidate C would be who you think about voting for. So it's just a different way of thinking, even when the candidates don't do everything we want. Get on the bus and get close. Your vote matters.
Now we're going to pass it over to Derek.
Right. You also need to remember that voting might seem complicated and it can take some time or help preparing to vote and know that it is worth learning about and worth the time it takes to cast your vote. The more you vote, the more comfortable you are doing it. And then you can encourage others to vote.
John.
Another reason to vote, and I said this before, voting is a chance for you to have a direct impact on your community. Be a change agent and let your voice be heard.
Derek.
I draw this picture to show why I vote. These are the things that I want my life to look like. I vote because I want to get my own house and live my best life. I want to be a graphic artist, enjoying gardening, playing games, having friends and family. I know what I want and what is important to me.
The next one's still you, Derek. You're muted. You're muted.
I vote because I can, I should, you should too. Got that?
Got it.
That was great, Derek.
And Derek, you've gotten really involved in voting advocacy this last year, right?
Yep.
That's super. You're helping other people get their votes out.
All right, Nandy.
If you haven't registered to vote yet, you must register by October 11th to vote the November 8th general election this year.
All right. This website tells you how to register to vote. You can register online, or you can print the application and mail it in. You have to be 18 years old by election day and a U.S. citizen and a residency of the county where you will vote. You are not eligible to vote if you are serving a sentence for a conviction or a felony, or if a judge has says you can't vote in a legal guardianship order. Now I'm going to pass it over to John.
All right. John's voice. John decided he did not want to be under guardianship anymore. But while he was under guardianship, he wanted to vote, and what he did was he asked and did research about voting and registering to vote. Because in his guardianship order, there was not a specific ruling about voting. So under guardianship, you still have the right to vote, unless it is specifically stated that you do not. So if you need, okay, we're done, go to the next slide. In order to register online, you will have to use the number on your Georgia driver's license or your Georgia identification card, which gives the state permission to use your signature from your driver's license or your ID card on the online voter registration. If you do not have an ID card or a driver's license, you can still fill out the forms online and then print the registration and send it in with a copy of an approved alternate ID, which will prove that you are who you say you are. So I am going to put into the chat a link to the list of alternate identifications that you could use. We encourage everyone to get an ID card if you do not already have one.
And thank you, John, for telling us about your a little bit about your guardianship journey. I know there are many people who would like to hear more, and I know that you type to get your words out, and so there may be some additional things you want to say to the group that you can put it in the chat box while others are presenting, because it sounds like you have a lot to say, and we all love to listen to your voice and your wisdom and hear your thoughts and ideas. Thank you.
The next slide is Derek.
Now we are going to talk about the different ways you can vote. You can vote by mail if you request and return an absentee ballot, or you can go vote in person during early voting from October 17th through November 4th, or you can show up to vote on election day, November 8th, as long as you get out and vote. We will talk more about each of these ways and what to do and at our next season session on September 13th.
John.
All right, you've probably already seen some ads and are starting to get mail from the candidates. Here are some ways you can learn more about the candidates and decide who you want to vote for. You can watch or listen to the news. You can watch or listen to debates between candidates. You can ask people you trust who they are voting for and why. Do your research. There are lots of resources to help you decide, such as newspaper articles and candidate websites. You can email the candidates directly. Think about the issues that are important to you and which candidate has a plan to address those issues. You can go to local meetings, for example, your Chamber of Commerce or the county commissioner meetings, and get to know local elected officials so that you can decide if you want to vote for them in the future.
Gina.
You might want to think about does the candidates have a disability platform idea of how to support borrowers with disabilities. These, right here. The candidate, and if so, those if include what matters to you. Those the candidates view people with a disability as a community resource and seek out input. You will want to ask and find out.
Nettie.
What is it? I stop the chat box. Okay. Georgia statewide races from 11 places. Here are the candidates that is going to be in runoff. Runoff? Sorry, my pronunciation. Here are the candidates of all sessions of the mayor to the governor to different categories. So make sure you vote for these candidates. They're very important to us. Get ready to vote, and here are the information for those who are running for governor, the senator, secretary, education, and so on. More information will be in the chat box.
That's right. That's perfect, Nandy. So this slide gives you the overview of how many candidates for each of these statewide races. So everybody in Georgia will have at least these 11 races on their ballot and maybe some more. And so we have some slides to describe each of these in more detail, but this will be, like Dana said, in the handouts in the Google Drive later today.
All right, now I'm going to pass it to Kata and Danny. What the heck is going on this morning? Katie and Dana to talk about the next slide.
So this actually is a resource that our friend John McCarty found and showed us about, that Dana and I and several others now think is a really good tool to help you figure out what each of these candidates stands for. And it has some in-depth research. The people who have put together this website have interviewed candidates, have sent them questionnaires to get answers back, and have really perused all of the websites and social media from the candidates to get this information to put in this website for you. So you go in and you enter your address, and then anywhere in Georgia, even if you're outside of the metro area where this group started compiling all this information, you'll have these 11 more major statewide races in this website that describes all of them. If you're further outside of Atlanta, you might not have some of your local races yet, but they're still compiling information, right? Dana, this group's still working to get it as up to date based on everybody's address in Georgia, but we know for sure that these 11 ones that were in that chart that we're going to go through will be described in detail.
Katie, can you go back for 1 second? I want to add one thing. The other thing that I love about this website is once you read through that information, and maybe you know after reading, you can choose, you can save in that website who you want to vote for, and do it kind of one by one on your own time. But then you can print that list out and take it with you to your polling place. Because 11 races is hard to keep track of, 11 different people and candidates. So this gives you time to work on it all during election season and save your choices, and then have a list when you're ready to go vote so you can remember. I think that's a cool part of this website.
All right, now there's a list of all the candidates running. Our self-advocates, including me, will go over those with you. But let's first, on our first slide, pass it to Derek.
The governor oversees the state. This is like the president of the United States. They oversee the executive
Exclusive.
executive branch of state government sign bills into laws and then enforce these laws. They also act as the commander in chief of the state military.
Now, our second set of candidates, we're going to pass for Nandy.
Here are the candidates that is going to run for Lieutenant Governor. Charlie Bailey, Burt Jones, and Ryan Graham. These three are important for Lieutenant Governor. Please get a chance to research these candidates and your vote matters.
The next set of candidates, we're passing to Gino.
Each state elects 2 U.S. senators, and this year in Georgia, we are voting for 1. Our U.S. senators work in Washington, D.C. to represent us. They passed a law based on what voters in Georgia tell them is important.
Now, I'm going to talk about your next set of candidates. The Secretary of State oversees elections, voting, and business license in Georgia. This office is in charge of monitoring elections, managing our voter registration, and preparing ballots. It is also where you go to get a business license to start a business or to get one of 42 professional licenses, like being a licensed plumber or a nurse or a social worker. Our next set of candidates, John's going to talk about. That's me.
There are 3 candidates for Georgia's Attorney General: Jen Jordan, Chris Carr, and Martin Cohen. The Attorney General is the chief lawyer representing Georgia and serves as the attorney for the Georgia government in legal cases. They're also the chief legal advisor for the governor.
Our next set of candidates, I'm passing to Derek.
Derek, can you hold on for 1 minute? I wanted to go back to the Attorney General because John put something in the chat box that I think is real important, and it sort of connects with the Attorney General's position. John said he typed out, "I terminated my guardianship and documented the process so that others can do it too. Here is the link to my SARTAC website." And so we want to make sure that all of you can go to that website. If any of you have guardianship, you can learn about how to terminate it if that's something you want to do. And John's also a tremendous advocate for supported decision making. And there'll be more workshops on that throughout the year as well. So John, thank you for putting that in the chat. And Derek, thank you for allowing me to talk about that for a minute. So you're up, Derek.
No problem. Georgia State School Superintendent is the head of Georgia K-12 public education system. This person guides the State Board of Education and local school boards on how to follow new state education laws.
Our next set of candidates, I'm passing to Nandy.
Regulate the insurance industrial insurance fire safety in Georgia. This is the candidates for insurance and safety fire commissioner. They oversee the office that regulates insurance companies to make sure they're following state law. They work with the insurance companies to set prices for all types of insurance, including health, automobile, home, and act as Georgia's top 5 marshals.
Our next set of candidates, I'm passing to
The agriculture commissioner oversees agriculture and food quality in Georgia. They enforce rules that deals with food safety and food access.
our next set of candidates is for John.
The Georgia Labor Commissioner has 3 candidates, Bruce Thompson, William Body, and Emily Anderson. And the Labor Commissioner oversees labor rules and the development of Georgia's workforce. They're responsible for making sure the state's labor rules are followed, like maintaining a minimum wage. They also are responsible for operating Georgia's unemployment benefits program and rehabilitation programs.
Our next set of candidates I will talk about. This is the Public Service Commission. The Georgia Public Service Commissioner is part of a 5-person board. They monitor Georgia public utilities. They make sure we receive safety and reliable telecommunication, electricity, and natural gas, and determine how much we pay for our utilities. Our next set of candidates is also Public Service Commissioners, because like I said, there's 5 seat holes, but they're only 1 person. These are 2 seats open for Public Commissioner. These are the same jobs that we just described. Move, utility cost, renewable energy, infrastructure, and reputation. I will now pass it to Katie to go over the next slide.
So I'm going to launch a poll that we're asking everyone to complete. It's a Zoom poll, and what it does is it gives us some feedback about how we could make this workshop better, and it gives you a chance to tell us in the self-advocates what was good or what was helpful to you. And then it also helps us to collect some data, because as a part of supporting Uniting for Change as a self-advocacy network, we receive funding from, or a grant from the Georgia Council on Developmental Disabilities, and they receive federal funds, and so we're asked to help collect some data. So there are some demographic questions in here that we'd ask you to answer, and then this also gives us some input. So you can be doing that while we're going through some other announcements, or if we have any questions right now, we could take those while people are filling out polls. Is that cool, guys?
Yes.
And for those of you who have more than one person in the room, you can certainly add information into the chat box for us. That would be great. And we have a Google form that we're going to go over where you can find that. And so you can, we're putting that in the chat box so you can use that.
Yeah, I'm going to drop the Google form link in. It's the same survey. So if you do one in Zoom, you can only do one. If there are 15 people sitting with you, the other 14, if you would be so kind and willing, later today, this Google form will be open with the same exact questions.
So y'all can just complete that at your leisure, for those of you who are in the workshop, because we're so excited that we have a center at the workshop. Y'all spread the word, man. all over Macon, and we're such, y'all can talk to other providers that y'all know and let them know to come on in. So, does anybody have any questions? Sheila will be monitoring the chat box and looking for raised hands or comments. You can put them in the chat box while we're working on the forms.
Okay. Because I'm having computer problems right now. And I'm going to get very mad and stuff.
Well, I can help look out for questions.
Thank you, please, Dana, because I'm having computer problems.
No worries.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what folks thought. We're getting close to wrapping up. We have a couple more announcements and some other ways you can get involved. But now we'd love to hear from you.
Or what you think about voting.
Or talk about why voting is important to you again. We didn't hear from everybody about that. But you can raise your hand using Zoom, or you can wave on the screen, or you can put it in the chat. I told Sheila I would help pretend to be Sheila. She likes to call on people she knows.
And I'm back, and don't think I ain't afraid.
And can somebody talk about the amendments and the yes or no questions? Because sometimes those are tricky.
That's true. That's true, Sheila. So sorry, Susan. What Susan's asking about is sometimes on your ballot, there might be a question that the local officials or the state officials want your opinion on. And those can be sometimes hard to figure out, make things a little more complicated. But all the voting resources we gave you, like Ready, Set, Vote, or Vote 411, or options like that, will usually help you go through the amendments and explain them a little bit better. So when there are going to be questions on your ballot, like, should our local community change the speed limit? Or should our local community build a racetrack? Those sorts of questions. Those are things that it's important to do research on beforehand, so you can really understand the question that they're asking. Because Susan's right, they can be kind of tricky.
Thank you. And Sheila, one other thing I wanted to add, each time is that I look at the sample ballot before I go to vote, and I take that with me and answer everything, and it's so much easier, and it saves so much time, I must say. So that you should take that under consideration. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that's really great advice. That's really great advice, Susan, to use a sample ballot. So the same place you can go to register to vote, that Katie put in the chat, the Secretary of State's website, you can use that to get a sample ballot, so you know what races are going to be on your ballot and those amendment questions. And yes, you can do that beforehand and then take that into the polling place with you. That's a really good tip, Susan. All right, and then
all right. John said, I believe that our life as people with disability would never get better if we do not vote. And then Andy had a question. How about the absentee ballot?
I'm going to ask too real quick. Maybe I'm not sure what you're asking about absentee ballots. We have 18 of 30 people who voted, so we still, and who are doing the poll, so please make sure you're completing it, and if you're an ally or supporter, we want you to complete it as well as helping with your with the self-advocate you may be supporting, so you can pull it off the Google Drive as well. Okay.
I'll try to answer some questions people have about absentee ballots, and then you can tell me if I get it right or not.
Then too, if you need help, Dana, I've been doing absentee ballots since COVID, so I know a lot about it.
Yeah. So people use absentee ballots when they know that they can't go vote on election day, right? Or they don't want to go vote on election day. And there are two steps. Well, I guess there's 3 steps to absentee ballots. You have to request one. You have to ask your Board of Election to send you a ballot. And you can do that by going to your Board of Election, by printing an application and mailing it back. Or most boards of elections, you can call them and request them to mail it to you. Then you get your absentee ballot. Oh, go ahead, Sheila.
Last year I had mine on the computer, but because my polling place was so far away, I had to get it printed out. So I was able to fill my absentee ballot on the computer. But because my polling place is not where I can access it, so I had it print out so I can mail it in. So sometimes you can do your absentee on the computer.
Yes, so Sheila, we're gonna have a whole session about some of the things that changed from last year to this year, and that's one of those changes, is that you can't request your absentee ballot online anymore, and that makes it harder for some people. But
and if you stick around for our next workshop, that's where we're going to get into letting you know about the rules and changes. So please come back. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I have that coming up. So we have 2 more sessions coming up. There's one in September and one in November. Voting with United Change Part 2, which is September the 13th. Please be back here because you're going to want to be here because that's when we give you all the good juicy news about all the changes, about everything that's happening in Georgia, even the people who are doing us wrong. This one will have more details about getting ready to vote and what you need to know about the changes. There has been some changes. And your voting rights. Later on, we'll have another session. Later on, November 1st, 1 week before Election Day, we will host a voting Q&A with United for Change. So please be there so we can answer any questions you have about voting before you go to the voting hall. And answer session. Both workshops will start at 10:30. And Katie will put the link in the chat box for you to register. And like I said, please come along for the next 2, because the next one will give you all the juicy news and the changes. And then at the end, if you question about what's going on, why can't I do this? Come to session number 3 and we'll answer those for you.
And that's exactly right. So Nancy said in the chat, she meant early voting, absentee ballot in the mail, and to encourage others to do the same. So Sheila and I talked a little bit about how you can get that ballot, right? You can go to your local board of election. You can request it.
I think there's it'll be next week that you can do that, Dana. It hasn't opened yet, right?
It hasn't opened yet, but Monday, August 22nd, you can request your absentee ballot application. That's the first step. You have to apply for it. And then the registrar will send you a ballot in the mail, and you can review it and take all the time that you need to make your choices. And then you have to return it by, what's that date, Katie? The return date is coming up. But those are the steps, right? So you request an application, you get it in the mail, and then you have to return it. So the last day to make sure you get your absentee ballot returned is October 28th, so a little bit before the election.
And that would be pretty close of a timeline, like in back, to be able to receive it, to be able to receive the actual ballot in the mail. Like if the office doesn't get it until October 28th, and you need to receive it in the mail and have it returned by November 8th, right? Like that's a little, I wouldn't wait that long.
Right, yeah. So you can get it in August, and then you have until the end of October to return it, but return it as soon as you're done voting.
No, actually, Dana, you have until, you can take that ballot, I think, to your elections office on election day. You can drop your absentee ballot at some early voting sites. You can mail it in at any time.
Yes.
At some early voting sites, not all. Then on election day, if you have not yet returned your absentee ballot, you take it directly to your elections office for whatever county you're in, and you can hand it to your elections office on election day.
Thanks, Joan and John. That's really important for everyone to know in case they get their ballot late.
Yeah, thanks for that. I was reading it wrong. The last day to submit your application for an absentee ballot is Friday, October 28th. And I think that's what Katie was saying. If you submit it on October 28th, that's a really short time to get everything done by November 8th. So if you think you want to vote absentee, you can request it now and then get it in all the way up until election night. Thanks for that, Joan.
Jerome Lee said most counties have Republican and Democrat organizations, which have monthly open meetings. You can attend, and they usually have people from their parties who are running for office, who speak to the group. Most of them hang out after the meeting, and you have a chance to meet them.
That's really great advice, Shirley. That's another way to get information about candidates.
Yeah, how folks can get involved. That's right. And I think we might have missed a comment from Shannon.
Hold on, I'll go back up. Is she? Hold on.
You want to
Everyone
clarify
is
that.
welcome a photo ID with you, even if
Anyone is welcome to bring a photo ID with you, even if you're going to early voting or general voting on election day.
Yeah, you definitely need to bring your ID with you when you're going to vote in person.
Dana, it's required. You have
I
to.
want to say, I've done this and I've been through this. Please, I recommend that if you don't want the hassle of, oh, you sure you live here? We need more proof of where you live. Please make sure your ID has your current address. Because when I started voting here last year for November's election and stuff, my ID is actually formed out of DeKalb County, which I am no longer a DeKalb County resident. I'm a Fulton County resident. But because my ID said I live in DeKalb County, I had to come up with so many documents to prove that I live in Fulton County. So I would recommend, please have your current address on your ID so you don't get to run around and pass.
That's an excellent tip. Yeah, just as a reminder.
She says I always bring my ID with the current address with me when I go vote, early voting. That's very good.
Thank you, Shannon. And as John said earlier, that if you don't have an ID and you're a self-advocate, you don't have one yet, doesn't have to be a driver's license, but you go to the same place where you get a driver's license and you get an identification card. So we think that everyone should have an identification card in a wallet.
and put it in your wallet. Every person should have a wallet with your ID in there and with any other important things that you believe you need to have with you in order to make purchases or show who you are.
And you would certainly have time, if you don't have an ID, to get one. And at the DMV, they'll ask you if you are a registered voter or if you want to register to vote. So you could do it right there when you get your ID made too.
You go to the grocery store right now, you'll have people standing there. Are you registered to vote? Or just watch out, you might have somebody knock on your door. Are you registered to vote? We had the holy crap scared out of us last night. Somebody knocked on our door, and thank God we have Ring cameras due to things like this. And the guy opened the door. I didn't check the Ring camera. I opened the door, and he didn't say hey or nothing. He said, "Hi, are you registered to vote?" I was sitting there like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know what to say because he just like, hey, you registered to vote? Okay, I wasn't expecting this 6 foot tall guy be standing at my door like that.
Yeah, that can be a surprise, but there are lots of volunteers who are getting involved in helping people get registered to vote and sharing information about candidates and platforms. And we have another date we want you to save.
And Nancy's going to talk about save the date.
Thursday, September 29th, 2022 GTC Candidate Forum. It's on Thursday, September 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern Sharp. It's a hybrid event. Please join us. You have a chance. Is the event available online or in person? Is it Decatur? Marriott Hotel and Conference Center at 130 Claremont Avenue, Decatur, Georgia. The candidates have been invited to participate who are competing for the office of Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, Insurance Commissioner, Attorney General, Labor Commissioner, State Superintendent of Schools, and U.S. Senator for Georgia. Please stay tuned for dc.org or to register for details.
And a hybrid event means that you don't have to be there in person. It's also going to be available on your computer. So this may be something y'all want to do, watch parties. For those of you across the stage, have a big old party and go ahead and have folks together so you can watch the candidates in action and see if they actually answer the questions the way you want them answered.
One of our self-advocates, Gina, said, a good role for supporters and allies is to help their self-advocates get IDs.
That's great. That's a good idea. And Uniting for Change, some folks who have been presenting today, has been suggesting some of the questions that will be asked of the candidates in the pre-planning, like to get ready. So there are folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities coming up with questions to ask these candidates that will be asked live of them at this forum.
And then also, all these wonderful graphics that not only Gabby or our artist Derek and Katie and Michelle put together. If you want to find these, Katie's going to put a link in the chat box of how you could go find all these wonderful presenter notes that we have today that has all the beautiful graphics and everything in our Google Drive folder. So if you want to look at it on your leisure time when you're not busy, just click on the link and it'll take you to our Google folder.
That's right. So I'm putting it in the chat box right now. There's nothing in there yet, but later this afternoon, these slides will show up in this Google Drive. And then throughout this election season, there might be some other resources that get added to this Google Drive so that you can find them in this kind of like one-stop place.
And then also, we have a link that Katie's going to put in the chat. We're on YouTube, and we talked about voting. So Katie will put that in the link in the chat box about our voting video. I'm now going to send it over to Gina to talk about voting resources.
You can also check out a lot of voting information on the United for Change website. And also, y'all can check out the community strong stuff from like the one I did that this Monday, one that Susan did the Monday before, and it's good information for everybody to check out, and we want y'all to join, and please do. And if you have any other questions for the other two days, we would love to answer your questions. If we don't get to them, we will. So please join the two other voting sessions. And we have really enjoyed teaching you. And I hope this will get every disability people in the world to vote. Because we need it. It's really a bad, we have a bad, our country's kind of bad. That's all I gotta say.
And then Nandy is going to talk about the next slide because this is the picture of her when she did her voting. Nandy?
Voting. Okay, send us your photos of voting stories. So here's the picture of me outside, and I'm rocking it. Yay.
And what we would love is to have your voting stories, and we'll put them in the United for Change website so that everyone across the state and other states, because Shannon's here representing Arkansas, can see your voting stories and be, encouraged to go vote, just like all of the self-advocates who are presenting today. Remember Dana's slides with the stadiums and how we want to get the stadium filled with your votes.
And then our graphic duo, Gabby, I'm gonna pop her out real quick. She helps a lot with the website. So on the website, she put on there where you can post your story, but also some little rules, just so you can be respectful when you're putting up your story, that it's not inappropriate or targeting anybody else with a disability. But like I said, Gabby is very good. She does all of our graphic work for United for Change and Sun. So please check out our website. I'm now going to pass it on to the next slide, which is Gary.
So, excuse me, sorry, Derek, we keep interrupting your slides. Just one second. I want to say there are so many links in this chat box. And if your chat box is open, where you go to type a message, there are 3 little dots in a row on the right side of it, below all the messages and all the links I've been posting. If you click those 3 little dots, you can select Save Chat. And then this chat will be saved on your computer so that later you could go find these links if you want to figure out what it is that all these, I think there are probably about a dozen links in here now. And so they take you to helpful places, but it might be hard to keep up with. So you can save the chat if you'd like to do that.
And the 3 little dots underneath it says more.
It's right here. These. No, it's in the chat box. It says
You go to the chat box, and where it says to everyone, type your message here. There's like a little piece of paper,
right.
like a smiley face, and then 3 dots. When you hit that, it'll say more. And then it says save chat or merge to meeting windows. You just hit save chat. And Susan said, I just did that. Thanks. Now, Derek.
Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you September 13th. And remember, every election is determined by the people who show up.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for being here today. We look forward to seeing you in September, and you can spread the word about these workshops and Community Strong on Mondays. You can go to the Uniting for Change website and look at the calendar, and that's where you'll see Community Strong, which is a gathering of everyone. Lots of folks who are in this workshop are there every Monday.
And
So
then
we look
also,
forward to seeing y'all.
and then also, Michelle did tell you the little secret. When you tap on our website and go to the calendar where it says Community Strong, you can also register to come to our Community Strongs on that tab.
That's right.
Thank you.
And for you folks who are really involved in social media, there's a Uniting for Change Instagram page and a Facebook page, so you can follow there and get more involved.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And remember, show up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Great to see everybody.
Yep.